A correspondent for Fox News, Bill Mulligan, published a video on Monday that helps put things into perspective. This is what life is like for police officers these days. The video is footage from a body camera worn by a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy. Interestingly enough, the department doesn't require its officers to wear body cameras. This officer chose to wear one for his own protection. And it's very good that he made that choice because recently a woman called Internal Affairs to file a harassment complaint against him. She claimed that he harassed her during a traffic stop. Unfortunately, the deputy had his camera rolling during that stop, and it becomes very clear very quickly just who is doing the harassing during this interaction. The woman is so far unnamed, and as soon as she is named, I'll be sure to tell you her name and plaster it everywhere that I can. Now, I'm not always a fan of public shaming, but some people richly deserve it, and oh, does this woman deserve it. So let's play this. Let's listen to this.
You know why I'm being harassed today? Because I was going under the speed limit. I was going at 38.
Yes, you are, ma'am. Good morning.
And the speed limit is 40, and I was going 38, so why are you harassing me?
You're correct. I pulled you over
because you're a murderer.
Because
yes, I started to record because you're a murderer.
You can't be on your cell phone while you're driving.
I wasn't on my phone. I was recording you because you scared me.
You can't use your cell phone while you're recording.
I can record you.
May I have your driver's license?
It's at my apartment.
What's your apartment?
It's at my home. I'm just taking my son to his.
Do you have your driver's license?
I mistakenly left it at home.
Do you have a picture of your driver's license?
Yes, I do.
May I have it?
And can you call your supervisor, please?
I already did. He's on his way.
Good, because you're a murderer.
Okay.
And so you're giving me a cell phone ticket? Is that why you're harassing me?
Not harassment. Yeah. I am enforcing the law.
I have a right to record the police when they're harassing me.
By all means, but you can't do it while you're driving.
I wasn't texting or none of that.
You have that picture?
You scared me and made me think you were going to murder me.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Well, that's not just a feeling. You're a murderer.
Okay. Can you zoom in on that for me,
Sure.
Jim? Thank you.
And I'm perfectly legal, and I'm a teacher. So there.
Congratulations.
Murderer.
Of course she is. Of course she's a teacher. Oh, you knew that. You just, from everything, her behavior, the sound of her voice, you already knew she was a teacher. Mulligan says that she has worked as a professor at colleges in the area, apparently. This is just another reason why her name and face should be published. The public has a right to know where this psycho is teaching. Besides, she was filming the encounter too, so she obviously wants it to be made public. I mean, we should respect her wishes and make it as public as possible. She wants to be famous, so I say let's oblige. There's plenty more to say about this and a couple of larger points I want to make. But first, let's watch the rest of the footage because it does get worse, if you can believe it.
You're a murderer.
What's your last name? I can't see that there.
Well,
if
here you
stop,
go,
stop
murderer.
Shaking. Zoom in on that for me,
No, because
ma'am.
you're scaring me.
Oh,
you're threatening to kill me and my son. Can you give me
okay.
the
Well,
iPad,
I'll tell you what. You keep smiling.
Yeah,
you're on camera.
You're trying to threaten to kill me.
I
I'm not
didn't say that.
smiling. You're the one who's crazy.
Hold that still. I can't see that. Is this your car?
Yes, it is. And you're trying to say I stole my own car because you're jealous?
Yeah,
Is that what
I don't
that's
think
about?
so. You wait for me right here, okay?
You're jealous?
Citation. All you need to do is your signature. He's only citing you for using your cell phone while you're driving. That's it.
There you go, ma'am. Sign inside the red box right there.
For him being a Mexican racist. What is that name? Gasso?
It's on the citation, ma'am.
Here you go, Mexican racist. You're always going to be a Mexican. You'll never be white. You know that, right? You'll never be white, which is what you really want to be.
There you go, dear.
White.
Have a good day.
You want to be white so bad.
What a lovely woman. A little racism there at the end. Why not? Why not throw that in there for good measure? You've already decided to be a scumbag. Might as well go full hog, I guess. And yet, after all that, the vile, disgusting witch of a woman gets only a citation for using a cell phone while driving. The officer actually cuts her a break. Doesn't get her for driving without a license. Needless to say, this is a man with near superhuman patience. If that were me, I would have given her every ticket I could have possibly justified, and then a few more that I can't. Also probably would have been screaming at her to shut her stupid mouth, because, I'm on the opposite end of the patience spectrum, I have to admit. But this is the kind of patience that police officers must so often demonstrate. They deal with people like this all the time. In fact, that was easy compared to how so many other traffic stops have gone, especially in LA. At least she didn't physically assault the officer or try to shoot him, so that's progress. Perhaps this can lend a little bit of perspective. Some police officers are bad, just like some members of every profession are bad. In some professions, the percentage of bad is much higher than others. Professions like academia, for example, riddled with lunatics like this. For police officers, only some are bad. Some, like this deputy, are almost unbelievably good at their jobs. Everyone else falls in between. They're just normal people doing their best, bad days and good days, successes and failures, getting by as well they can. I mean, this describes the vast majority of people on Earth in all vocations and all occupations. Now, what happens when a normal person is subjected to constant harassment and taunting? What happens when they're forced to encounter the absolute dregs of humanity day in and day out? What happens when they spend all day, every day, dealing with drug addicts, domestic abusers, gangbangers, drunks, people of that sort? It has a psychological effect. So my point is that whenever we see body cam footage of some citizen acting like a lunatic around the police, we're always asked to see things from that person's perspective, to understand the pain and trauma that led to that behavior and so on. Well, what about the pain and trauma of the guy wearing the camera? Might we consider things from his perspective too sometimes? I know that if I had to deal with people like that woman every day, and worse, it wouldn't take long to turn me into a jaded, aggressive jerk. In fact, I already am a jaded, aggressive jerk, and I only work in media. So the majority of police critics, if they had to deal with stuff like that all the time, they'd be far worse than the worst police officer that they criticize. Two other things to think about. First, we don't talk enough about the entitlement problem and how it intersects with these issues. This woman has a sense of entitlement so pronounced that it's driven her into basically madness. She's furious that the officer would dare pull her over to enforce the law. She feels that she's entitled to do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, and anybody who deigns to prevent her is, to her mind, effectively a murderer. She's so entitled that even when the officer cuts her a massive break, she still isn't satisfied. To have even been inconvenienced is an affront that she cannot bear. Now, she might be a somewhat extreme case, but this kind of entitlement, to one degree or another, is extraordinarily common. It's another thing that cops run into every single day. Just consider the fact that in a great many of the police body cam videos or witness cell phone videos that we've seen, the perp who was allegedly the victim of police brutality was committing a crime and then resisted arrest when the police came to enforce the law. They act shocked and angered by the fact that the law is being applied to them. They're so self-entitled that they expect they can refuse to be arrested and the cop will just go, well, okay, never mind, sir. Sorry to have bothered you on this fine afternoon. When the cop doesn't respond that way, they become violent. Again, police encounter this mentality day in and day out. Also, the woman in that video, let's focus on this for a second. She repeatedly claims that she is scared. Another thing we hear all the time. All these people who say they're scared to death, afraid they'll be murdered by the cops, blah, blah, etc. But so often these scared people act exactly like this woman. She's scared of the cop, and yet she's going out of her way to antagonize him. She's yelling at him, insulting him, trying to instigate a reaction. She's already gotten a break. They're about to let her leave, and she's still screaming at him and insulting him. She's afraid that he'll kill her, and yet she taunts him relentlessly. Is that how scared people behave? Have you ever been so scared of someone that you walk up to them and say, hey, you big fat dummy, kiss my ass? If you're acting that way to someone, should we assume that you're scared of that person? We're even expected to believe that the people who resist arrest, who actually initiate violent encounters with police, who choose of their own volition to create a violent situation with police, they're scared too, we're supposed to believe. They're committing a crime. They're being arrested for committing a crime. All that is totally fair. They could simply go off to jail, fight this in the courts. But then they decide to make it violent. Didn't have to be. They made it that way because they're scared. And the BLM rioters in the street who throw rocks at cops, taunt them, cuss them out, sometimes strip off their clothes and dance naked in front of them. They're scared too, supposedly. All of these people professing to be deathly afraid of the police and yet acting towards the police in exactly the sort of way you'd act towards someone if you weren't afraid of them in the slightest. Could it be that all this talk about being scared is nonsense? Could it be that it's nothing but emotional blackmail, an act, a charade, to justify their own despicable and indefensible behavior? Yes, it could be. And it is, in fact. Nearly everything you hear from the anti-cop left is bogus. Everything. The claims they make about policing in general are statistically false. But even the claims they make about their own emotional states are also false. It is all false. All a lie. Every bit of it. And we should never forget that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.